Okay, let's really unpack this. Think about it. When was the last time you left a meeting just feeling completely misunderstood?
Mm-hmm.
Or, a casual chat suddenly gets weirdly hostile?
Yeah.
Or maybe worst of all, you failed to persuade someone on an idea you just knew was great.
Right. That's
Conversation feels so natural, right? We learn it as toddlers, we practice it constantly. But these failures, these awkward moments, they're just incredibly common.
That's the core paradox, isn't it? Our source material today comes from a Harvard behavioral scientist, and she spent, I think, 2 decades just dissecting this very complexity.
2 decades.
Yeah, figuring out the science happening, under the hood when we talk. And what she found was that even people who think they're great communicators, they're making these clear, measurable mistakes.
And those mistakes are making them disliked
Mm,
or just ineffective.
exactly.
So the mission for you listening is to get beyond just, intuition. We want to give you a clear, scientifically rigorous framework. A shortcut, really.
Hmm.
A way to improve your conversations in every part of your life. Whether that's moving up at work or deepening a relationship or just making sure you're actually understood.
Hmm.
This deep dive is about the tools.
And we really have to get the stakes here. I mean, the gravity of it. All human achievement, from professional goals like, closing a deal or making a big decision,
All the way to personal desires. Being liked, being loved.
it all hinges entirely on having excellent conversations.
What's so fascinating is that our motives are never just one thing. It's not just, I want to share data or I want to make a friend.
Right.
The sources call it a vast constellation of motives. We might want connection, sure, but we also want safety, we want to achieve a goal, and we want to enjoy ourselves. It's all happening at once.
And that complexity leads directly to the biggest failure, what the research calls the misimpression mistake.
Okay.
Look, we can't broadcast the entire contents of our minds. It's impossible. We're always curating a little subset of ourselves.
So if you haven't mastered the science of expressing what you intend,
Yeah.
if you haven't put effort and structure into it.
You are almost certainly walking around being misunderstood.
Okay, so here's where the science gives us something immediate, something you can use right away, especially in those, high-stakes moments. A presentation, a performance review.
The anxiety to excitement flip.
Exactly.
This is so powerful because it just leverages a biological truth. The science confirms anxiety and excitement are physiologically, they're basically twins.
Both are high arousal states.
And your cortisol is up, your heart rate is high, your palms get sweaty, your body is just ready for action.
So the physical feeling itself isn't the problem. It's the...
It's the label. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the label we give it. And the intervention is so simple, it's just cognitive reframing. You literally say out loud, I'm excited.
Right. Because anxiety makes your brain focus on threats. How could this go wrong? What if I look stupid?
And by just relabeling that exact same feeling as excitement, you force your brain to look for the opportunities. How could this go well? What could I gain? It's the same energy. You're just pointing it in a productive direction.
They actually, they explored this in the movie Inside Out.
They did, yeah. It was a really fun way to show how just shifting that internal narrative, that emotional story, it changes your actual performance.
But hold on, how do I stop myself from feeling like I'm just lying,
Yeah.
forcing it, when I'm clearly terrified?
You're not trying to become genuinely 100% excited in an instant. That's not the goal. You're just forcing your brain to change how it appraises the identical physiological data.
Uh-huh.
So in a negotiation, right, anxiety makes you want to escape. Just get out of the room. So people take bad offers just to make the feelings stop.
Mm-hmm.
Reframing that nervous energy as excitement helps you stay engaged, perform better, and actually negotiate for what you're worth.
That's a huge shift. From fleeing the pressure to focusing on the reward. Okay, so to manage that whole constellation of motives, we need a map. And this is where the sources introduce the conversational compass.
Think of it like a tool to diagnose what you're actually aiming for in a conversation. It helps you choose, as they say, which way not to walk, but to talk. It's all about intentionality.
And it works on two axes. The first, the x-axis, is relational.
Mm-hmm.
High relational goals are, selfless. They serve the relationship or the other person. You're showing empathy. Low relational goals are more self-serving. Maybe you're offloading guilt or just protecting your time.
And the other axis, the y-axis, is informational. High info goals are all about accuracy and exchange, persuasion, making a decision, sharing data.
Yeah, low info goals.
That's where you might be concealing something, or you're just prioritizing enjoyment over, a factual deep dive.
So let's say I'm a manager. I have to have a tough conversation with an employee about their performance. Is that high relational because I want to preserve their dignity?
Or is it low relational because your primary duty is to protect the business?
Right. The goals conflict immediately.
And that's exactly why the compass is so vital. It forces you to choose your priority, or at least to sequence your priorities. When you plot these out, you get 4 quadrants, and this is critical. All 4 represent totally legitimate human needs.
Okay, let's walk through them. First up, connection. That's high relational and high informational.
This is where you're going for deep mutual understanding, building trust, the good stuff.
Then you have savoring. High relational, but low informational.
This is just about having fun, pure enjoyment, relaxing. If you neglect this, you might have productive talks, but you're not going to look forward to seeing that person again.
Okay, moving to the self-serving side, we have advancing. Low relational, high informational.
This is the world of work, mostly. Persuasion, brainstorming, pushing your project forward. It's transactional.
And finally, the one that gets a bad rap. Protection discernment. Low on both axes.
Right. This is where you protect company secrets, or you manage your reputation, or you just put a hard stop on a meeting. And it's essential. Sometimes the smartest move is to consciously decide not to share everything.
So if knowing your goal is step 1, then step 2 is the mechanics. And this brings us to the core system of this whole deep dive, the TALK framework. Let's start with T, topics.
Topic choice is just. It's foundational. It's not just the opener. It's the constant, gentle choice you make to stay on a subject or to pivot. Realizing this gives you so much power in a conversation.
And a simple hack here is topic prep.
Yeah.
I mean, even 10 or 30 seconds of thinking beforehand, reminding yourself, oh, I should ask my colleague about that hiking trip.
That tiny bit of prep offloads so much cognitive work. The research is clear. You have less anxiety, you have fewer ums and orillas, and you're way more likely to land on a good subject.
The biggest mistake, though, is staying too long at the bottom of what the sources call the topic pyramid.
Exactly. You start with small talk, safe stuff, the weather, traffic, anyone can talk about it, but you have to move up from there, quickly.
Up to tailored talk. This is where it gets personalized, relevant interest based on what you actually know about them.
And the peak, where the real connection and trust is built, is dope talk. If you don't make that leap from the weather to something tailored, you just stay stuck in that transactional zone forever.
Which leads us perfectly to A, for asking.
Yes. The science is just unambiguous on this. You need to ask more questions. Way more. The data is brutal for what they call zero-question askers.
They're less likely to get a second date, less likely to get funding.
Less likely to move a negotiation forward. It's a killer.
Okay, that makes sense. But what's the specific insight from the research?
What's fascinating is that the benefit of asking questions is driven almost entirely by follow-up questions. An initial question can feel a bit rote, but a follow-up, a question that builds directly on what they just said, that signals genuine, intense interest. It makes them feel truly heard.
Wait a second. If I ask too many follow-ups, doesn't that start to feel like an interrogation? Like I'm putting all the pressure on them?
That's where you have to look back at your conversational compass. If your goal is high relational, right, for connection, your questions will naturally be warmer, more open-ended. If you're just firing off closed-ended, fact-finding questions,
then you're making it transactional.
Yeah.
You're shifting into the advancing quadrant without meaning to.
Precisely. It's all about how you ask. And we have to talk about a huge mistake here. One our brains are just wired to make. The self-referencing trap.
Oh, I do this.
We all do. Your partner discloses something and it immediately reminds you of your own experience, and you just jump in and switch the focus right back to yourself. You hijack their moment.
And it's an instinct, right? Our brains are just constantly scanning for relevance to us.
It's a totally egocentric instinct. You have to consciously override it so you don't look like you were just waiting for your turn to talk.
Overriding instinct is even more important when we hit those moments of difference.
Yes, let's stop calling them difficult conversations. They're moments of difference.
And they can flare up anywhere, anytime your motives or beliefs don't align. So when that disagreement happens, what's our first instinct?
To win. To prove the other person factually wrong. And neurologically, that is the absolute worst thing you can do.
Why is that?
Because the research shows that when you attack someone's position, you're literally triggering alarm bells in their brain. It shuts down receptiveness. They get defensive.
You are actively making them closed off to persuasion.
You've already lost. They feel threatened. So the goal isn't to win. The goal is just to keep the conversation emotionally stable so you can keep talking. And the key is receptiveness and validation.
Right. And there's a magic phrase.
There is. Validation first. Even if you completely disagree with their conclusion, you say something like, it makes sense that you feel X about Y.
And let's be super clear here. Validation is not agreement.
Absolutely not. You don't have to agree with their facts or their logic. You just have to acknowledge their emotional perspective.
And when they feel their emotional reality has been seen,
They can stop playing the broken record, repeating their point over and over because they don't feel heard. Validation turns a threat into a problem-solving opportunity.
and the simple language tip for this is to just get rid of yes, but.
That but is like an eraser. It just negates everything that came before it. Swap it for yes and. It keeps the flow constructive. It signals you're building on what they said, even if you're about to disagree.
Okay, moving on to L in the framework. Levity. This is about humor, warmth.
And it's fighting the #1 silent killer of conversation, boredom, plain and simple.
Boredom and disengagement.
Studies show the human mind wanders about 25% of the time during a conversation. A moment of levity, a little humor, a flash of warmth. It just resets the attention clock.
And if you're not, a naturally funny person,
Then focus on the warmth hacks, expressing genuine gratitude, giving thoughtful flattery, and just being assertive about switching topics when you feel the energy dying. That's a kindness.
a really powerful technique for warmth is the callback.
Oh, it's magic. Referencing a small detail they shared earlier, it proves you weren't just passively hearing them, you were thinking about them.
So as you're leaving a conversation, saying something like, hey, I hope you have a great time at the movie this weekend.
It's so simple, but it proves you listened and you cared about their life outside of that one interaction. It's huge.
And finally, K is for kindness.
Yeah.
This is about respectful language, getting names right, using the right level of formality.
In the workplace, this is everything. Bad communication habits, dominating the airtime, interrupting with yeah, appearing indifferent. The sources call this the single gravitational force on a person's career trajectory.
Wow.
Kindness is just professional respect.
We have to pause here because this framework perfectly explains one of the biggest societal problems the sources highlight, the male friendship crisis.
The data is it's really troubling. A ridiculous proportion of men, maybe 40%, report having 0 close friends. And the number of close friends men have has just plummeted since the 90s. They're 400% more likely than women to say they have no one to turn to in a crisis.
And why? It goes right back to TLK, specifically the willingness to move from small talk to deep talk.
Exactly. Men are so often socialized to see emotional vulnerability as a weakness. So they prefer shoulder-to-shoulder activities, watching sports, fishing.
That's all in the savoring quadrant. High relational, but low informational.
Right. And they struggle to make that leap to face-to-face emotional sharing, which is deep talk. High on both.
The impact is profound. They end up relying on a single romantic partner for all of their deep emotional fulfillment. Women, on the other hand, tend to maintain these broad, robust support networks built on frequent deep talk.
And the solution requires courage. It requires using the A in TALK, asking. Men have to initiate that leap and ask the vulnerable questions. Something like, what have you been struggling with recently?
Or even use structured tools like the 10 questions to fall in, like exercise, just to get started.
It gives them the structure they need to get past that initial discomfort.
And this whole dynamic just brings us crashing into the digital age. A recent communication audit had a really stark finding. Even though most of our interactions are digital text, email, DMs.
Only face-to-face conversations feel real when we look back on them.
That feels true.
And it's a massive contributor to the loneliness and disconnection we're seeing. And AI is making it worse. These large language models, they're pushing all our text communication toward a reversion to the mean.
It strips out all the personality, the weirdness, the creativity.
Yes, and we're seeing a real danger with this at work. When a manager gets a memo or an interview report that feels like it could be AI generated.
They just start ignoring it.
Yeah.
Because they value the human relationship, the intuition, the experience of the person who sent it, not some homogenized text.
So the ability to communicate well in person using a framework like TALK, that's the irreplaceably human stuff, in a world of digital convenience, mastering in-person conversation is becoming a massive superpower.
Which, in that context, brings up the idea of authenticity. Just be your authentic self at work. Is that good advice?
The source material argues for something called strategic authenticity.
Okay.
Authenticity isn't a fixed state. I mean, you don't act the same way at a rock concert as you do during a child's bedtime story.
Yeah.
You adjust to the context.
So strategic authenticity is about consciously choosing how you present your core values to fit the situation. You bring honesty and respect, but maybe you don't share your deepest insecurities in a budget meeting.
Right. And a little bit of fleeting insincerity is totally fine if it serves the bigger goal of a good, respectful conversation. Asking a question you already know the answer to just to smooth the transition. That's not being fake, that's being socially skilled.
So when you put it all together, what does it mean for us? Conversation is not passive. It's an effortful skill. It takes energy, prep, and the courage to fight our own egocentric instincts.
But the payoff for mastering it is just massive
Ah.
across every single metric of success and well-being in your life.
Mhm.
And really, the ultimate long-term project here, beyond all the tech worries, is helping the next generation high schoolers learn to talk well. We have to save them from digital addiction and loneliness. The TALK curriculum needs to replace some of that time they spend just staring at screens.
And that leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to take with you from this deep dive. What essential human skill are you allowing convenience to erode in your own life?